For the most part, we've finished the product detail page at this point. In this video, we'll add the quantity selector box to the shopping bag page's quantity column in place of the plain text number, allowing users to update the quantity right from the shopping bag. To begin, let's replace this quantity in the table with a form with a method of post. It won't have an action yet, since we haven't created the proper URLs or views, but we'll get to that soon. I'll give it a class of update form and attach the CSRF token since it'll be posting data. And from here, it's as simple as copying the form group from the product detail page and pasting it in. And now we'll make a few changes to it. First, I'll get rid of the 50% width class. Then I'm going to add some classes to make the icons, buttons, and input boxes a bit smaller. And I'll remove the icon class here in the span element, which will allow FontAwesome's FA small class to handle the sizing, instead of the icon class we copied from Bulma in the beginning of this project. Now, since there's no product template variable here, instead it's called item, we need to update all the template variables that contain product.id to item.item_id. Also, let's change the value of the input box to reflect the number of this item currently in the shopping bag. Finally, because there's no size selector box on this page, we'll need to submit the size of the item the user wants to update or remove in a hidden input field if the product does in fact have sizes. With the form finished, let's see how that looks. It looks good, but it seems there's something wrong with the value of our quantity boxes for products with sizes. I'll try clearing them out of the session and adding new ones just in case we're stuck with some old stuff in the session from before that code was finished. That didn't work, but you can see what the problem is if you look in the inspector. It appears that item.quantity is being rendered as the object containing the items by size, rather than the quantity of this specific size. Since this box is being rendered in the loop of bag items, it points to an issue in our context.py, so let's go take a look at that. If you look closely, you can see that the issue is I've accidentally set quantity in the bag items dictionary to item data, which is incorrect for items with sizes. Item data is from the outer for loop, so we want quantity to just be the quantity from the inner for loop. And looks like that fixed it. Now we need to include the script from the product detail page in order to make the buttons work, so let's go do that now. We can just copy and paste the entire postload.js block to include it. There's one problem though. Currently there's no way to submit the form. Rather than add a submit button, let's keep the visual impact minimal and just use a simple link and handle its click event with JavaScript. Just under the form, I'll create two anchor elements, one for updating the quantity, which will submit the form, and the other for removing the item from the bag entirely. The one for removing the bag will have a data attribute similar to the data item ID attributes on the buttons, and that'll be used to discern which specific item the customer wants to remove if there are multiple sizes of this item in the bag. Now let's write the JavaScript to handle these two elements being clicked. Back in the postload.js block, I'll add a new script. On the click event of the update link, I'll use the previous method to find the most recently seen update form in the DOM, store the form in a variable, and then call the form's submit method. The remove link is a bit more complex, but it'll still be handled with its click event. The intention here is to post some data to a URL, which we'll create in a future video, and once the response comes back from the server, reload the page to reflect the updated bag. To accomplish this, we need several variables. We need the CSRF token, which we can store as a string by just rendering it here. And notice that this uses the actual template variable with the double curly brackets, as opposed to the template tag, which uses the inner % signs. This is because the former renders the actual token, while the latter renders a hidden input field in a form. Then we need the item ID and the size of the item to be removed. The item ID can be obtained by splitting the ID of the update link being clicked on at the underscore and taking the second half of it. I've used the entire first part of the string here, remove underscore, just to be very explicit about what we're splitting. Now to get the size, we'll again use the data method to pull it from the data size attribute. And by the way, if this isn't clear, do some Googling about using data attributes in HTML elements, as it's a very handy trick to have up your sleeve. Finally, we need two more variables, a URL, which will be bag/remove/the item ID, and this is a template literal, and we'll make this URL in a future video. And we need data, which is the object we'll use to send this data to the server. The data variable will contain a special key called CSRF middleware token, all lowercase, which will have our variable as its value, and it'll contain the size. The CSRF middleware token key will match the field Django is expecting to see in request.post when we post it to the server. To do that, it's as simple as using the post method from jQuery, giving it both the URL and the data, and when done, we'll execute a function to reload the page. With that done, we've got everything we need to update and remove items from this page. But there's one more small issue, and that is if we hover over the update and remove links, the cursor is incorrect because they have no href attributes. We can fix this easily by just adding their classes to the back to top link class in the base.css file, since that one sets the cursor to a pointer already. That should be everything, so let's take a quick look. And though the links don't work yet, I'll go ahead and commit that, and in the next video, we'll add the additional views in the bag app to handle these events.